Hey guys, welcome to 3 and Out. You can check out the podcast below in the description. And here's what I need you to do. Make sure you subscribe to the Volumes YouTube channel to stay up to date to everything we're doing here on 3 and Out and the Volume. The Jets and the Giants. I've said for a while, and I think I did something on it the last couple weeks, is the NFL is so powerful that their biggest market that has two teams that have, the Giants fan base is enormous. The Jets fan base, for being the number 2 team in the market, is also really big. Jets haven't made the playoffs in a decade. The Giants haven't won a playoff game since Eli's last Super Bowl victory over Brady and Belichick. I think they both combined for the 2 worst records in the league over the last 5 years. They haven't just been bad, they've been putrid. They've been an embarrassment. And part of being an embarrassment, as the league, as Roger Goodell, I'd say this about not athletic directors, but commissioners, like Larry Scott, who was the commissioner of the Pac-12. People hated him. People thought he was the village idiot. In fairness to him, and he didn't get how important football was, but he wasn't hiring these terrible coaches. It wasn't his fault that the league was not winning football games. He didn't do a good job promoting it and the TV stuff, and he was too into tennis and softball. But it was not his fault that Clay Helton was the coach at USC. That is not his problem. It has not been Roger Goodell and the league's fault that the Giants and Jets suck. That's on John Mara. Keep hiring Dave Gettleman and Pat Shurmur and Joe Judge and Woody Johnson and his brother or cousin or whoever the hell was running it, hiring Village Idiot 1 and Village Idiot 2. But now it feels like both teams, Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, and Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, just have some competent people. Are they stars? Time will tell. But every single person, I can speak for Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh. I know a lot of people that worked with Joe Douglas. They love him. He was Howie Roseman's right-hand guy when they won a Super Bowl. Joe Douglas was taught by Ozzie Newsome in the Ravens. He's legit. Robert Saleh, is he going to be a great head coach? I don't know. But I think very highly of the guy and the football coach. Brian Daboll, I'll be honest, I don't know that much about besides watching him at Buffalo. But Joe Schoen, people that I know in the NFL, think he is very, very impressive. And the NFL is a business, I'm sure like many industries that we all work in, where you naturally talk shit about other people. I haven't had one person that has been on a school call, that has been around Joe Schoen, that doesn't have high-level things to say about him. And I think both New York teams had a really, really impressive night. Because I think the most important thing to do when you suck is to not overthink it. Just get good football players. You don't, ideally you'd like to hit a home run, but these teams, we're not even talking, we just need to get the train back on the tracks. Dave Gettleman is drafting quarterbacks. You can't even pick up their 5th-year option. He drafted a running back at number 2 overall. Mike McCagnon, I don't think knows a defensive tackle from an offensive tackle. Worst general manager, biggest clown ever. Well, there have been some other ones in the league, but joke, laughing stock in the NFL. Both teams, multiple picks in the top 10, which is pretty crazy, right? The Jets had 4 and 10, and the Giants had 5 and 7. It's pretty wild. Great trades to end up that way, right? And the Jets didn't outthink the room. Maybe they would have taken Stingley, the Texans do. They just take Sauce Gardner. They just take a guy who should be a 10-year starter at corner. And then, for whatever reason, I don't know why the Falcons took Drake London. I root naturally for Pac-12 guys. Garrett Wilson was the best wide receiver in this draft. When you factor in Jameis Williams has a torn ACL. But to take Drake London over Garrett Wilson, to me, is embarrassing. What? Are you kidding me? So the Jets just took Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. They just got 2 legitimate football players. A couple years ago, when Joe Douglas took Mekhi Becton, that was a risky pick. And what's happened since? It's been an up-and-down roller coaster ride. He's not getting roller coaster rides in these 2 guys. I've watched a lot of Ohio State games the last couple years. I would say the majority of the games, when you just ended watching an Ohio State game, you went, yeah, I think Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave is the best player on the field. Every fucking game they played. Cincinnati somehow, out of nowhere, became a power who went to the playoffs, and their best player was his corner. And they took him. That's just high-level stuff. And then the Giants, who historically, when they were good, when they won multiple Super Bowls with Tom Coughlin, do you know where they dominated? In the trenches. I worked for the Eagles. I saw firsthand that second Super Bowl team. Their defensive line was always enormous. they would walk out, and it would be OC, it would be JPP, it would be, Kiwanuka. It would be all these guys. You'd be like, holy shit, these are the biggest human beings I've ever seen. And then they had offensive line, Sean O'Hara. I can't even think of some of their offense. They had really good offensive linemen. They were just big, and they were tough, and they were physical. That's where they dominated. It's not like they didn't have 7 Odell Beckhams back then. Odell Beckham was not on their team. They were tough and physical. That is the ethos of the franchise. Think about the Parcells days. Defense, LT, slam down your throat, kick your ass, beat your ass, dominate you. What do? They take Kayvon Thibodeaux, who is a polarizing player. But here's what I will say about this guy. Blue chip guy, number 1 overall recruit, goes to Oregon with Mario, and has a really good career. And they did this once upon a time with JPP, and it worked. Now, they're different players, but you know what I'm saying. You win with pass rushers. That's how you can still be physical in the NFL. I can't hit you over the middle. I can't hit you at the line of scrimmage as a corner. I can hit you at the line of scrimmage as a defensive lineman. And one thing, if you watch Kayvon, and I watch a lot of Pac-12 football, is he's not soft. He will play the run. He is not a puss by any means. I think that's a good pick. I think it's going to work there. I also think it's smart because I do think they could have taken him at 7 as well. Let's just assume that they like Aquanu more than Evan Neal, and I'm not sure they did, but they wanted to take Aquanu at 5 and then take Kayvon at 7. I think it's smart to take Kayvon at 5 because you basically show him, like, you were our guy. And I think that's important to him, like, to be, like, loved. Mario loved him up, and they got him to Oregon. I think he's going to be good. And then taking Evan Neal, who, whether he's a tackle, whether he's a guard, he's just a good football player. And that's one thing that the Jets, Wilson, and Sauce need some good football players. I think they traded up and they got the Florida State guy as well. I don't know that much about him, but I just know that those guys, the 4 guys that both teams took in the top 10, those are big-time football players. Listen, Kayvon, polarizing player. He can play. So I give him credit. Let's go with the Jags. In a draft that did not have Nick Bosa or Joey Bosa or Myles Garrett or Chase Young or Jamar Chase or just some can't-miss all-time player, there is no such thing as, even the guys I just talked to, there's no guarantee that Garrett Wilson or Kayvon Thibodeaux or Evan Neal or Sauce Gardner are going to be good football players. This is all educated guesses. I was watching the Warriors game. I'm recording this. It would have been Wednesday night, the night that they they beat the Nuggets 4-1. Nikola Jokic, I don't watch that much Denver Nuggets basketball. He's an incredible basketball player. I've been watching the NBA for almost 30 years now. He's one of the most unique big men I've ever seen. He is. Even Draymond after the game, who loves the podcast. I mean, clinched the game, told the media, I'm not going to tell you much because I'm going to go home and I'm going to say it on my podcast. Draymond Green is a passionate podcaster. I mean, and even he said that he went up to Jokic and hugged him and thanked him for making him a better player. And Draymond is not some kiss-ass guy. Like, you got to be legit for him to respect you. Jokic is just an all-time great player. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He's going to win back-to-back MVPs. He was the 41st pick in the draft. In the NBA, if you're the 41st pick in the NBA, that might as well be like a 7th-round pick, 6th-round pick. So there is no guarantee that any of these guys, there is no such thing as can't miss. So if I'm going to get up to the plate, and I see it with Farhan, who runs the Giants. I've watched Billy Beane forever. I follow the Dodgers closely. Do you know that the analytical guys in baseball believe they would rather have a walk, a home run, or a strikeout than like a double and then no runs? They're always swinging for the fences. They value, they don't mind strikeouts as long as you hit 35 home runs. It's no different in basketball. They don't want you to shoot 2s anymore. They want you to shoot 3s. They value something bigger than something smaller. It's just basic math. So Aidan Hutchinson, there's no guarantee. He's not a Bosa brother. He has short little arms. Now, I think Aidan Hutchinson, watching him play at Michigan's a good player. I think he's going to be a really good NFL player. That's what I think. But I didn't think Jalen Hurts could be any good. He's not bad. I thought certain guys, you never know. So I have no problem with Trent Baalke getting in the plate and going, you know what? Instead of just hitting a double, which I could get thrown out at second, I'm going to take a swing and I'm going to try to hit a home run. You know when venture capitalists, when they give out $500 million, they give all these different companies 50, 75, $100 million, let's say. They're hoping to hit one Facebook, Google, or Uber and 50x their money. They don't mind if of that $500 million, they lose 400 of it to get $7 billion back. I like that mindset because you know what? In life, like I said this with Howie, you're going to miss some picks. You're going to get some things wrong. You're going to date some people that you end up not liking. Like you're not always going to win. You're not always going to be on the right side. So you might as well go for broke. And the other thing is you already have your quarterback. So there wasn't some can't miss all-time left tackle in this draft. Part of the reason that they franchised and then extended Cam Robinson. I don't know that much about Travon Walker. Obviously, his stats speak for themselves. He's not a very productive player. His physical attributes speak for themselves. He's a freak. On, I don't know, one of the greatest defenses we've ever seen in the history of college football. I think 5 of their front 7 players got drafted in the first fucking round. Now, was he the best guy on that defense? He was not. The best guy on the defense, if you watch them play, was the Nakobe Dean, who I don't even think was drafted. So, I understand the logic and the mindset. Is it going to work? I don't know. Probably wouldn't. History would say 50-50 chance. But this is a guy who has been in a position he avoided, at the time, J.J. Watt was a lot safer pick than Aldon Smith. Now, no one knew that J.J. Watt was going to become a first ballot Hall of Famer and a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. But at the time, people thought like he was going to be a solid NFL player. Aldon Smith was risk versus reward. Now, Aldon Smith, the person, turned out to be a disaster. Got arrested like every other day by his 4th year in the league. But for the first 3 years in the league, no one had ever had more sacks in NFL history through that time period. He was, I remember going to games thinking is this serious? Who's blocking this guy? And then I remember going to Niner practice, walking by him and going, I get it. I understand. Because when you go see someone who is 6'5", with long arms, physically moves, and Aidan Hutchinson is a good athlete, but the arm length things scares off true scouts and true football people. You know why? It matters. You know when you watch a boxing match? We don't have as many of them anymore. We have more UFC fans that listen to this than boxing fans. Why? And I'm not I respect the shit out of UFC boxing, but I wouldn't call myself like Chris Mannix here. I'm not Joe Rogan. But I appreciate just the sport of it. And I appreciate when two guys are walking in the ring and we show their measurables, right? Their height, weight, and their reach. Because if I can hit you and you can't hit me, advantage me. Well, what is playing offensive or defensive line, especially ends and offensive tackles? It's basically a hand fight, right? Can I grab you before you can grab me? And Aidan Hutchinson's short arms scared Baalke off. If Aidan Hutchinson had 35-inch arms, to me, he would have been the no-brainer pick. It wouldn't have been worth it trying to outthink the room here. But he didn't. They were short. So he said, you know what? Screw it. I've done this before. I'm going to do it again. Is it guaranteed to work? Of course not. But you get a guy into a scheme where you let him probably just get upfield, be aggressive. You don't have to two-gap. You just get to run after the quarterback. It's what Aldon Smith did, and he started kicking everyone's ass. Now, one thing Aldon Smith really benefited from Vic Fangio was his defensive coordinator. So who your coach matters. I don't even have the Jags defensive coordinator on. I don't want to type it in. I don't want to waste our time, but it ain't Vic Fangio. So who his coach is going to matter. A lot of pressure on that defensive coordinator. Thanks for watching 3 and Out. You can check out the podcast below in the description, and make sure you subscribe right now to the Volumes YouTube channel.